You might be surprised about what I have to say, but after 17 years, this is what I wish I knew before going plant-based. This list that I'm about to give you is a list that I wish I could go back and tell myself when I first began on this journey. It's not meant to be a list of judgment to you on how you decide to do your journey. I just thought it might be helpful to you or to someone that you may know and you can share it with them. So number one on this list is I wish I knew what protein really was. Now, I know you might say like, Adriana, how do you not know what protein is? But honestly, even today, I find people, highly educated people, that still don't truly comprehend what protein is. Now, I'm gonna read you the definition off of Britannica because I don't wanna butcher it. I just wanna tell you exactly what protein is. Protein is a naturally occurring, extremely complex substance that consists of amino acid residues joined by peptide bonds. Proteins are present in all organisms. Now, I'm reading the definition to you because I think we've been sort of conditioned to think that protein is like a thing. Like it is one thing and it's only like chicken or beef or tofu or, you know what I mean? Like it's been programmed in our head that it's a physical thing when it's actually a combination of compounds that exist in all living organisms. Therefore, protein is not something that I can just like put on my plate on one little area and be like, this is it, this is all my protein. Like it can be literally every single little thing on your plate. So I guess all in all, I'm saying, I wish I would have done more research. I wish I would have like sat down and truly broken down, what does my body need to survive? And how can I meet that? Because if I would have done that, you guys, I would have probably spent so much less time worrying about, am I getting enough protein? Am I getting enough protein? Or people asking me every time they knew I wasn't eating meat, the question of, are you eating enough protein? How are you getting your protein? And that question to me now, like when I think about it, is so silly because I'm like, well, all living organisms on my plate are going to have some type of protein. Granted, yes, some will have more than others, but if I would have just known that, I could have just put a lot of different foods in my plate and I would have not had to worry as much as I did when I first began on this journey. Number two, I wish I knew that you don't have to do this cold turkey. I feel like there's such a pressure when you're making this sort of lifestyle change to just like stop everything and completely change your life. And honestly, I feel like this can make it really complicated and it's not as sustainable in the long run. I end up finding that people often will quit because of this very reason. It can be really challenging if you just go cold turkey rather than taking simple steps. Like maybe you don't even have to tell everyone about what you're doing. You can just start making small little changes until it starts feeling really natural to you. And I feel like if you do your research, as I said in point number one, and you slowly integrate it into your life, it can just be so much smoother than it has to be if you just like go cold turkey. Number three, I wish I knew that most packaged foods labeled as plant-based or vegan are actually really unhealthy. Now, I know that there's gonna be some exception to this, but I'm saying in general, the majority of the things that are sold out there and are really marketed towards plant-based or vegans, they're really, really, really unhealthy. And they're not meant to be as a substitute for the things that you were eating before. They're meant to be like maybe when you have a huge craving or maybe like not at all. Because honestly, I find that especially in the beginning of your journey, it can be really tempting to just like go out to the grocery store and buy a bunch of things that say vegan or plant-based and like you kind of get this like self-gratification of like, ooh, I'm buying all the right things, right? But if you start eating this and you eat this all the time, you're going to feel really horrible. And I know that I fell for it, and I pretty much know that every single other person out there that went plant-based has fallen for this at some point. And it can also be so expensive. If you just go out to the grocery store and buy fruits and vegetables and grains and legumes, it can be really inexpensive. But if you're buying all of the really marketed products on the shelves that are vegan and plant-based, you're gonna spend so much money, and it's not going to be good for your health in the long run. And this might actually also be a reason why people quit. I find that people who eat really processed foods in the plant-based world or the vegan world, they end up feeling really horrible and feel sick, and then they say, well, it was because this wasn't for my body. And obviously everybody's different. It might be true for some, but I tend to find that that's a general thing that happens, and then they blame it on the fact that they weren't eating animal protein, when in reality it was probably because they were just eating way too processed. Number 4 is, I wish I knew that I should take supplements and vitamins, especially in the beginning of this. Now, I'm not just saying this because you're not going to be eating meat, as everyone tells us, and we need all these supplements. I honestly think it's not a secret that our soils are depleted, especially in this part of the world, and we are not getting the same nutrients and vitamins from our foods as we used to. Therefore, we probably should all be taking some supplements and vitamins into our own daily life. But I do think that when you're making this transition, it's important because you're gonna feel some changes to your body, and these could help you make that just a little bit smoother. I find that a lot of people, not all, but a lot of people end up having some symptoms because they're making changes to their body, and their body's like, what are you doing? What are you eating? Oh, you're eating tons of vegetables now? What? There's no meat in my body? So your body's gonna have some reactions, and the supplements can just make it a little bit easier. But obviously, when you're doing your research for the supplements, really, really spend some time looking for something that's going to be good for your body, because similar to the packaged foods, supplements can also fall into that, some of them. And you need to find something that's actually going to be good for your body, and not just synthetic things that are not going to assist you at all. But obviously, this is just my personal opinion. Consult your doctor and work with your doctor to make sure that you figure out what's good for your body as you're going into this transition for plant-based. Number 5 is, I wish I knew that nobody really cares that much. Now, you're probably wondering, wait, what does she mean? But I don't mean this in a mean way to tell you that nobody cares about you. But what I mean is that nobody really cares that much about what you decide to put in your body. At the end of the night, nobody's going to sleep thinking oh, Adriana's plant-based, that's not what they're thinking when they're falling asleep or they're having fun out in their life. I feel like when you're going through this journey, I know I did. I had a lot of pressure on what are people gonna think? And I had a lot of pressure because I wasn't really fully sure. I jumped into it. I really hadn't done tons of research. I really hadn't figured out exactly what that looked like for me in my life. I was in college, I didn't have tons of money. I wasn't cooking that much for myself. I was eating out a lot. There was just all these unknowns, and all of that was energy that I was putting out into the world that it felt like I didn't really know what I was doing. And so sometimes when I would talk to people about it, which I didn't even need to do that, I don't need to explain myself to anyone. But when I did that, my energy felt so off that they sometimes weren't the nicest to me, or started questioning so many things about my own journey. And so I say this to you because sometimes we can get so into our own heads that we start seeing that outside in our world, right? And if we just take a step back and really think about, let me do the research. Let me take this slowly. Let me figure out what I am going to eat. Let me figure out how I'm going to start incorporating this into my life. Maybe before we tell the whole world about it, or you don't even need to tell anyone. You could just start living your life how you want, when you want it, at the steps that you want it, as slow or as fast as you want to. but really like getting into the mindset of I'm doing this for me. Not because it's trendy, not because my favorite celebrity is doing it, not because the world is telling me I need to, because global warming or something. Like, do this because this is really for you. And if you do that, this can all just be so much easier. And you're not going to get people to hate on you because you make this decision. It's just going to feel really natural and good for you. Number 6 is I wish I knew that this doesn't have to be that complicated. I feel like this is something that took me a really long time to understand. Once I kind of followed all of the other points, I was finally able to realize that this new journey can be something that is really fun and exciting. I was able to find new foods, new cuisines, new restaurants, meet new people. I really was able to, over the years, find new ways of like appreciating my body and how my body reacts to foods, and finding new ways to nourish my body in ways that like I never really thought before going on this journey. I was able to find just an overall new perspective to not just the city I was experiencing restaurants in, but even just my overall world. And over the years, I have found that this can be really fun. And it doesn't have to be like the world is against you because you've chosen something that maybe isn't the norm. It can just be exciting and a whole new fun journey for you. And lastly, I just want to say, maybe you haven't even started on this journey. Maybe you're just thinking about it. Maybe it's a thought that's come up and you don't really know how to get started. Maybe no one in your family's doing it. Maybe you just don't think you have the money to do this. Wherever you're at right now, I just want you to know that it's okay. You can totally take some time to do the research, to plan out your financials. Like I said, you don't even have to tell anybody. Maybe you can just start thinking and getting mentally prepared for taking that decision, and take one step at a time. Before you announce it to the world, or before you tell your whole family, or before you tell yourself that you can't afford this, just take some time, do some research, prepare your mind. You know, this is the whole reason why I began this channel. I want to make it easy for everyone to eat delicious plant-based food. So all of my channel has very easy recipes that you can get started on. And I want to know, where are you in your journey? Let me know down in the comments. Share this video if you think it'll be helpful to somebody out there who has been thinking about it or who has started on this plant-based journey. And if you are looking for those recipes that I'm talking about, I'll make sure to leave them here. And until next time, buen provecho.